Hi everyone, it's me, Alex. It's been quite a while. Sorry about that. I'm not that sorry. I've been busy. You've been busy. You've been watching videos. I've been not making videos, And I'm back to talk about things that aren't in the news anymore. Namely, this revival trim from Origin Effects, which actually isn't even called. That's how old this is. They don't even call it this anymore. They call it the Deluxe 61. Good on Origin Effects for renaming it the 61 Deluxe, because it's based off of brownface era, very short-lived era in the early 60s where Fender was making brownface amps. And it was like the bridge between the tweeds and the black faces. Calling it revival trem made every YouTuber in the world think this was just a tremolo pedal, but it's actually an awesome amp sim of that brownface Deluxe. I think it's 6G3, I think is like the circuit in the brownface Deluxe. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm late to the party on these things, right? These got sent out a long time ago for people to review, right? And then we buy them, and then they move on and never talk about it again. Just like that Strymon video, just like that PRS, although they might still talk about the PRS. It's like so weird to me because it's like some of these are such great pieces of gear that us guitarists and just a lot of people on YouTube, we get obsessed with like, well, what's the next thing? What's the new thing? And you forget about like all these amazing things that have come out in the last 10 years, 5 years, even 1 year. So I'm going to talk a little bit why pedals are important. All right, I'm going to stop swinging this around. I'm going to put this down so just I don't drop it. So why do any pedals matter, right? I mean, like, why buy any more pedals? Like, I mean, I'm sure you have tons of pedals. I have a ton of pedals. We don't need any more. So why do we buy them? We buy them because pedals are tools. And certain tools elicit certain emotions. And when I play this pedal, the Revival Trem, 61 Deluxe, whatever, it elicits this swampy, bluesy, rocky thing from me. I can't help but write stuff like that, play riffs like that, listen to songs like that. Because you can imagine yourself. This is, an early 60s amp. You're like, oh man, what was it like to be writing music back then? What was it like to go to a session back then? What was it like to see a live show back then? That would have been, it feels like you could, if you close your eyes and play this pedal, it feels like you're there. And that's what the cool thing about technology is. That's what the cool thing about pedals are. Not because you have the latest, greatest thing. Not because YouTube recommended it in their algorithm. But because in your home or in the studio or wherever you are on stage, you can elicit that emotion for you and the audience. That's a cool thing. And that's why pedals can matter. They don't always matter. Sometimes it's just like, okay, you are obsessed with buying stuff like me. But at its best, it can be a transcendent experience. Couple cool things about this pedal too. When you plug it in, it glows green. And a green, when you see a different color pedal on your board than red. Red, it's like your whole pedal board's covered in red LEDs. To get a green pedal, it's pulsating. Yeah, very cool. So I appreciate that. Getting some new LEDs for 2022, that's my motto. Stamp it, bam. The other crazy thing about this is that there's a lot of different ways to use it. And that intro song, I use it in front of the Strymon Iridium on the Clean, on the Fender Deluxe setting to a little bit of Flint reverb, and it sounded very cool. It sounded very alive, right? And the big thing that they boast about is all analog gives you that feel, and it does. It really does give you that feel, which is so rad. So putting this in front of a digital modeler really can help with the attack that you want. And the latency from everything else should be negligible. The second way you can use it is in front of an amp. I'm going to put this in front of my Fender Blues Jr. with super old tubes and a reverb tank that doesn't work anymore. But listen to what it makes it sound like. This is unbelievable. right? Right? I was impressed. It sounds really cool. It doesn't sound like my Blues Junior at all. Like, I mean, all that low end and all that tremolo on that poor little speaker, that poor little 12-inch like crappy speaker. The last way to use it is like a preamp in front of an York Audio IR, their Deluxe Reverb. But as a preamp, I think this sounds the coolest to me. It's like it's the easiest to work with because I'm not playing, I don't have to mic an amp, and a bad amp at that. But, with the Strymon, now you're working with so many different tone tools, right? Like now I got to worry about that tone stack, this tone stack. And this way it's so much simpler, like just this into an IR and then to add a little reverb and that, you're done. Some questions on this too. So this actually has an awesome clean sound. And you wouldn't guess it because it's, again, like I feel like they did the branding wrong on this. The clean sound is really cool and chewy. Listen to this. Right? That was that great clean sound. I could play that all day. I mean, you can turn off the tremolo. It's a great rhythm clean sound. Or even like for plucking leads. It's very cool. Very sensitive too. Did you see that? Like, play lighter. It's very dynamic. People always say dynamic, touch sensitive. Whatever. This is too. And listen to this all tore out, like all the way up. Ripping, right? And then when you add a humbucker, I mean, that's like a fuzz tone, pretty much. You can feel the amp like shaking. You can imagine it shaking. You don't feel anything because it's the digital world, and I don't feel anything ever. And you can even put a boost in front if you're like looking to push it even further or add more girth or whatever it is. If you don't want it to push into that fuzz, but you do want to give it more like overdrive. This is with an EP booster in front. Okay, one of the other things I forgot to talk about is like the bias tremolo. You hit it hard, right? The tremolo actually gets overwhelmed with the signal and doesn't tremolo. Or I don't even know what that would be called. But it doesn't do the tremolo effect because you blast apparently through it, like exactly what happened on the old brown faces. Is that a selling point? Not really, but it does give you a cool kind of feedback thing. The selling point for this pedal, for me, is what does it make me feel when I play it? What does it make me write when I play it? I'm not a great guitarist on YouTube. The guitarists on YouTube and the bar for a YouTube guitarist is so high right now that I'd probably put myself in the lowest 25% of accomplished guitarists. However, I would put myself in a middle realm when it comes to writing, because that's what I love to do. I love to write, I love to arrange. And this pedal allows me to write and arrange in very specific ways. It's very cool. My first idea was to pan guitars hard and right, heavy tremolo, deep tremolos, like big, and then have the bass in the middle, punching and driving the beat, and the guitars on the side just kind of adding this texture. Kind of cool, right? Idea number 2, put it in the middle, right? Put the tremolo in the middle, and build around that pedal and have it as slow tremolo, so it's kind of like a pulsate, not like a phaser, but like it kind of feels like it's pushing and pulling. It's giving you this like uneasy effect, which is pretty cool. And then the last one, I was like, oh, maybe I can do like a kind of like a indie, like Alabama Shakes, Kings of Leon kind of thing here with it, with a really, really fast chopping tremolo and over a faster tempo. This is what that is. Cool pedal for me, and because it makes me write certain things in a certain way. And I guarantee you this, a lot of guitarists, it's a hard time finding your voice, right? You don't know, like, I don't want to sound like Stevie, I don't want to sound like Jimmy, I don't want to sound like Chris Buck, I don't want to sound like all these guys who've clearly established their tone and their playing style. But if you buy a pedal like this, that I don't know anyone else that actually owns this pedal, like that'll make you unique. And then you'll find your own way through, right? This might not be where you end up landing, but this might be a good starting point for you. It's a cool tool, it helps me write, and I think you might like it too. Until I'm actually sponsored by something, I'm never gonna lie to you. When I'm sponsored, I'll probably lie to you the whole time. I'll probably be like, oh yeah, I listened to this album, it had a huge effect on me, da, da, da. But for now, I'm gonna be honest with you, all right? And that's fair.